Micah Parsons saying he wants to be a Cowboy for life. I mean, that really got people talking, especially after the season they had, all those trade rumors.
It definitely did. It's not every day you hear a player be so upfront about their future, especially with all the uncertainty surrounding the Cowboys right now.
Yeah, like when he said, you all know I'm going to be a Cowboy for life, and we're going to figure out a way for me to be a Cowboy for life. I think Jerry and Steven see it that way, too. Yeah, what a bold statement.
It is, and it raises a lot of questions. Is this just Parsons expressing his love for the team?
Right, or is it a strategic move to try to influence contract negotiations?
It could be a bit of both. He is a smart guy. Parsons knows his worth.
He does, and he's definitely not afraid to speak his mind.
Exactly. But let's be real here. How much control does Parsons actually have over his future? I mean, the team has the final say.
That's true, and they've shown they're not afraid to make tough decisions.
No, they haven't. Remember, they could trade him if they wanted to, even if he doesn't want to go.
And that March 12th deadline is looming. So how likely is a trade, really?
Well, it's hard to say for sure. Parsons is a phenomenal player, a real game changer.
He is. You can't deny that.
But the Cowboys have other needs too. A trade could bring in some valuable assets.
Like high draft picks or maybe players who could fill some gaps on the roster.
Exactly. It all depends on what the Cowboys front office is thinking. Are they looking to rebuild or are they going all in for a championship?
Their decision on Parsons will tell us a lot about their long-term strategy.
It really will. Now, on the other hand, Parsons has been really optimistic about the Cowboys' future, even after the season they had.
He has. He even seems excited about the offseason, especially free agency.
He's talking about big moves and roster upgrades. He said, I think it's going to be a great offseason. I think we're going to attack free agency. I think it's going to be a great year because I think we got the pieces, man.
Wow. That's a lot of confidence, considering how things have been going.
It is. And it makes you wonder, is he really that confident in the team's direction?
Or is he trying to rally the fans a bit?
Maybe a little bit of both. But you can't ignore Jerry Jones's track record. He's made some pretty unpredictable moves in the past.
That's true. He's definitely not afraid to shake things up.
No, he's not. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. Does Parsons truly believe the Cowboys can turn things around quickly?
Or is he just trying to stay positive in a tough situation?
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see. But his whole Cowboy for life declaration definitely adds another layer to this.
It does. It makes you think about loyalty in professional sports. How much does a player's desire to stay with the team really matter when it comes down to it?
That's a good question. And what about the team's responsibility to its players?
Right. Do they put the players' wishes first, or do they just focus on what's best for the franchise?
These are the kinds of questions that come up all the time behind the scenes in every sport.
They do. And Parsons' situation is giving us a peek into that world, the world of player aspirations and team management.
It is. It's a reminder that even in a game as passionate as football, business decisions often play a big role.
And those decisions can have a huge impact on the lives and careers of players like Micah Parsons.
They can. And right now, his future with the Cowboys is full of uncertainty. But his statement has started a really interesting conversation about player loyalty and how teams are managed in professional sports.
It really has. We'll have to watch and see how it all plays out in the next few months because the Cowboys are at a turning point. And Parsons' future is a big part of that. What decisions are they going to make and what kind of impact will those decisions have on the team, on Parsons himself?
It'll be fascinating to see how it all unfolds.
It really will. It's almost like Parsons is challenging the Cowboys.
To show him they're serious about building a winning team around him.
Exactly. If they want him to be a Cowboy for life, they need to prove it.
With actions, not just words.
Right. A big contract extension would be a good start.
One that shows they truly value him.
But on the flip side, they could decide to go in a completely different direction.
And trade him while his value is high. It's a tough call.
Trading Parsons would definitely upset some fans.
It would. It could make the team look like they're not committed to winning.
But keeping him could limit their options.
Especially with the salary cap.
They'd have less money to spend on other players.
It's a balancing act. Every team faces this. Trying to find that sweet spot between building for the future and going for it now.
It's not easy. And then you throw in a player like Parsons who's so vocal about wanting to stay.
It adds another dimension to the whole thing. It's not just about numbers and contracts anymore.
It's about relationships.
And loyalty.
Parsons has put his cards on the table. Now it's the Cowboys' turn.
What are they going to do? How are they going to respond? Their actions will speak louder than words.
A long-term contract would send a clear message.
It would show Parsons he's their guy, that they're building the team around him.
But if they start start exploring trade options,
That would tell a different story.
it would signal that they're maybe prioritizing short-term gains over long-term stability.
The next few months are going to be very interesting.
They are. We're going to learn a lot about the Cowboys front office, what their vision is for the future of this team.
It's about more than just Micah Parsons at this point.
It is. It's about the culture of the organization, the message they're sending to their players and to their fans.
And to the rest of the league.
Exactly. This whole situation with Parsons, it's a perfect example of how things are changing in the NFL.
Players are starting to have more of a voice.
They're realizing their power. They're not just accepting whatever the team decides anymore.
And we're seeing more and more players demand trades or push for specific contracts.
It's a power shift, and social media has played a big role in this.
It has. Players can connect directly with their fans, build their own brands.
And they don't need to go through the traditional media anymore to get their message out.
It's given players a lot more control over their own narratives.
It's definitely a double-edged sword, though.
It is. More scrutiny, more pressure. But overall, I think it's a good thing.
I agree. Players should have more say in their careers, and teams need to adapt to this new reality.
They do. If they want to keep their star players happy, they have to listen to them, build relationships.
Exactly. Show them that they're valued and respected.
The teams that don't figure this out are going to be in trouble.
They're going to struggle to attract and keep the top talent.
Because the landscape of the NFL is changing, and player empowerment is a major factor in that. So what does all this mean for Micah Parsons?
Well, for him, it's a reminder that he can't control everything.
Even if he wants to be a Cowboy for life.
He can say what he wants, but ultimately the decision is up to the team.
That's the reality of professional sports.
It is, but he can control how he plays.
He can let his performance on the field do the talking.
Exactly. If he keeps playing at this level,
He'll have even more leverage in the future.
he will. Now, for the Cowboys, this is a big test for them.
It is. Are they going to do what's best for the team in the long run?
Or are they going to make a decision based solely on the bottom line?
Their handling of this whole situation will say a lot about their values.
It will. It's not just about Parsons.
It's about how they treat all their players.
And the kind of organization they want to be.
It could affect their ability to attract top talent down the road.
Absolutely. This is a classic example of the tug of war between players and teams.
Between personal goals and business decisions.
It happens all the time in pro sports, and sometimes it feels like the money side of things overshadows everything else.
It does. And it makes you wonder, what's more important?
Winning championships.
Or loyalty?
It's a tough question.
It is. But at the end of the day, it's still a game.
Right. And both Parsons and the Cowboys want the same thing.
To win.
Can they make it work? Only time will tell. But this whole situation with Micah Parsons, it's a great example of what it means to be a professional athlete these days.
It is. The business side, the loyalty, the pressure to perform, it's all there.
It is. And we'll be following this story closely to see what happens next.
We will. It's a reminder that sometimes the most interesting stories in sports happen off the field.
They do. Well, that's all the time we have for today.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of Micah Parsons and the Dallas Cowboys.
It's a complex and evolving situation, but hopefully we've given you some food for thought.
We'll be back soon with more in-depth analysis of the biggest stories in the NFL.
Until then, goodbye.
Goodbye.